20 of Canada's top endurance athletes from across the nation have been invited to the picturesque hamlet of Alton in Caledon, Ontario, just north of Toronto. While the area might be most famous for its world-class golf courses, this year it's also host to the Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championship at Osprey Valley. In a very unique season for professional sports, a very unique triathlon experience. A race for the pros, by the pros. Led by Jackson Landry and Taylor Reid, Canadian triathlon pros, with the support of the entire triathlon community, have come together to make this dream a reality.
For these two athletes to take some time out of their lives to try and put together something for all the pros in Canada is phenomenal, and we can't really thank them enough for actually getting this off the ground.
When I called the Professional Triathletes Organization, it was within a couple days that we had confirmation that they were going to be supporting our race with a $20,000 prize purse. That was just a huge jumping off point for this race, and it really gave us the ammunition we needed to tell our sponsors, to tell the athletes that this race is happening.
I've watched them build this up from nothing, and I was initially kind of pessimistic about this whole thing. I thought, how could we possibly get a race together in really a matter of weeks? And so they poured themselves into the organization of this race and had some help from Barry Shepley, of course. I can't believe how quickly this came together.
The 10 professional women will get things underway with a 3-loop, 1.5 kilometer time trial at the C3 James Dick Quarry. Leaving every 30 seconds, another athlete will head into the water. With $20,000 on the line, some of the sport's biggest names are here from across the country. Long distance specialists and short distance specialists. Former champions and rising stars. Dami Jemanicki, one of Canada's ITU stars, is here. BC's Rachel McBride, a multiple Ironman 70.3 champion, is expected to dominate on the bike. But the story of the day belongs to the swim of Kira Gupta-Baltazar. At just 18 years of age, she's made up the 30-second deficit on the Olympic hopeful Emily Kretz.
16:54 for Kira Gupta-Baltazar.
Kretz with a great swim of her own as she finishes off in second place. After the 1,500-meter swim, Kira Gupta-Baltazar with an incredible 16:55 to take the swim preem. 31 seconds back, Emily Kretz, followed by Elise Balger, Dami Jemanicki, and Kristen Marchand in fifth. We told you this race was unique. How about a 10-minute drive to get to the location of the final two disciplines? With COVID safety measures on everyone's mind, having a contained closed course was deemed to be the best option. Kira Gupta-Baltazar, on the strength of her swim, was first to get underway. The 18-year-old, just starting University of San Francisco on scholarship, had an opportunity for her first ever Olympic distance race with some of the top women in the sport. Next up would be Emily Kretz, 31 seconds down. The Olympian certainly has experience at this distance, and she had a fantastic swim to get her day started onto the bike course. It would be Elise Balger next up to get started on the course. Canada's Commonwealth Games athlete Dami Jemanicki still waiting. A minute 42 gap, she has to wait, and look at the ride of this woman.
Probably was not expected for a lot of people, like the 18-year-old in the race, but I knew the girls were coming, obviously. I've been training on that course a lot, so I knew where the wind was and where my legs were gonna start hurting on the hills. But it was definitely just surreal being in front of an Olympian and being on the same course as all these amazing athletes.
Well, it has been a fantastic ride for the junior, but there you can see Emily Kretz at the bottom of the screen going after Kira Gupta-Baltazar, 30 minutes in the lead. And now Emily Kretz, the Olympian, takes over the front end of this race. And Kira Gupta-Baltazar, I think, has got as much experience as she's going to get out of her first ever Olympic distance triathlon. Kretz in the lead, but the person everyone's worried about is BC's Rach McBride. We know that the multiple Ironman 70.3 champion is considered one of the sport's best on the bike.
I've won crit races before. I know how to corner well. I have probably better bike handling skills than a lot of my fellow racers. And I had ridden the course for an hour the day before and really worked on the corners. I mean, you know, we know how to ride hard, but it's that technical side of things. And so when you have over 120 corners in the race, you know that those corners are actually going to play a big role in how well you're going to do.
Nobody's riding corners any better than that athlete. And as Rach McBride starts to go by Kristen Marchand now sitting back in 5th spot. It is only pavement being torn up by that athlete, and it's next on the line, Dami Jimennicki, as she is getting spit out the backside. As Rach McBride continues to tear up the field, it is Emily Kretz, knowing that McBride is coming and her lead is starting to shrink.
Rachel is a very, very good rider, so I knew she would be coming from the back, and I knew I wanted to put time on the fast runners. I was focusing on what was ahead, but still thinking about what was behind me and what was coming for me.
I think everyone expected this to eventually happen. Rach McBride has now taken over the lead, and what an incredible, powerful pedal stroke, as she's been doing 2 minutes per lap. Nobody else within 5 or 6 seconds on that lap course. It is right there, Kristen Marchand, who right now is riding 2nd fastest on this course. She has been a 2-time world amateur champion, dealing with some injuries over the last couple of years, but some very big bike weeks coming in. Over 200-kilometer bike rides has prepared her for this bike course. And right there you can see Tamara Jewett now just coming up on the junior. Tamara riding right past Kira Gupta-Baltazar, so the woman who led out of the water now, watching some of the more experienced athletes going by her on this bike course. And that's Dami Jimennicki. She's gone to the Commonwealth Games, going by Elise Balger right there. Those women have battled back and forth. And right there you can see Tamara Jewett has gone from 6th to 5th. And there is Dami Jimennicki just up the road, the woman who's well renowned for her running abilities. She's having an incredible bike ride on this very technical bike course. No matter, however, how fast Jewett's going, they are all losing time right now as Rach McBride continues to power away from the rest of the women on this field.
At some point, the announcer said, hey, I think Rach is going to lap the entire field. And to me, that was a big motivator. I was like, all right, I am lapping the entire field. And so that was probably one of the more exciting moments of when I finally nailed that last person to lap the entire field. That was a really shining moment for me.
What an incredible bike ride. Rach McBride has outridden everyone on this course, lapped every single athlete. But there is 10 kilometers separating Rach McBride from a title, and some phenomenal runners still coming up from behind. Big smile. We'll see if she's still smiling like that in 10K.
Well, I know there are Olympians and future Olympians behind me, and past professional runners. And so I am usually running scared in a lot of races, and this one in particular, because it's so short, I knew that I had some really speedy folks coming up from behind.
Next is Kristen Marchand. What a phenomenal bike ride. She has pushed herself all the way up into 2nd place, ahead of the Olympian Emily Kretz, who's not that far behind. But after 2.5 years of injuries and missing racing, Marchand has to be incredibly pleased with that race so far. This 10K run might be a little tough, however. She's not had many kilometers of running on those legs. As Emily Kretz right there just coming off the bike, and we know that Kretz has set a 5K PB in the last few weeks. She had hoped to be at the Tokyo Olympic Games this last few months, but she'll have 11 more months to prepare, and in fact that might be to her benefit. As Emily Kretz heads off, the hunter on the bike is now being hunted on the run. And just on the side right there, that was Lisa Bentley, PTO's 11-time Ironman champion. Emily Kretz now has moved herself through Marchand into 2nd place, and look at the turnover. Coming off of a great summer of racing and training with Alex Serrano, her coach. She is trying to move herself to the lead, as right now Marchand is just trying to secure herself, I think, a top 3 or 4, and that would be a record finish for that woman. Everyone's got their eyes right now on this woman. It's Tamara Jewett. She has the fastest 10K running times of any of the women in this field. She's 3.5 minutes down. But when you have been a silver medalist at the Canadian 5,000 meter championships, a university champion over cross country and over 3,000, you know you have the abilities. But she's going to have to use every ounce of that talent on this 8-lap run course to go after McBride and Emily Kretz as she goes out of the transition zone right now, 3.5 minutes down. Rach McBride, 1 hour 22:57 off the bike. The top 4 women all within less than 2 minutes of each other as they all are chasing the athlete from BC. Rach McBride continuing to lead on the front end of this race course, but there is some very fast women coming up from behind her, the very tough section of this run. Kristen Marchand right there sitting in 3rd place as she continues to work her way up the hill in the much faster turnover pace right there of Tamara Jewett, the 30-year-old lawyer from Tory LLPC. And as she comes by Kristen Marchand, those 2 women would have raced against each other at the university level years ago.
Good job, girl.
You hear good job, girl, and you too, but there's no time for Tamara Jewett as she continues up the road.
Just a mix of tuning into my body and focusing on the person ahead. And trying to not rush too much to reel them in and spend my energy really inefficiently, but push the bounds of what I know my body can do while using the motivation of seeing someone ahead, whoever it is.
Canada's next running superstar in triathlon right there, Tamara Jewett, has just run past Emily Kretz. You have to think back, way back to Carol Montgomery, to one of those great runners off the bike, as Kretz trying right now to hold on to 3rd place, and they are all chasing that athlete right there, Rach McBride. She had a 3-minute 48-second gap on Tamara Jewett when they came off the bike. And Tamara has been putting multiple seconds in every kilometer into that athlete right now. Look at the phenomenal turnover. It's Kretz right now sitting in 3rd place. I think the 3 athletes who we know are going to be on the podium have all been on our screen, but right now it's just a matter of the difference in color. And Tamara Jewett going after right there, Rach McBride. You can see the efficiency as Rach McBride trying desperately. She's been working at that longer half Ironman distance. And you can see Tamara Jewett. She's been a 1,500 meter runner, a 3,000 meter runner. She was top 10 at the Fishu Games for 3 kilometers, and she is using every bit of that ability. Right now, the improved running capacity of Emily Kretz trying to hold on. She's trying to go after Rach McBride. The battle between these 3 women right now for the different colors and paychecks on the podium at the end of the day as they start to make their way into the final lap of this Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championships. Well, the move from 3rd into 2nd right there. Kretz has now gone through, and she was having a solid swim, a great bike, and she has gone after that bike specialist. You can hear the bell right there. They're into that final lap as Emily Kretz wants to secure herself that silver medal, but it is gold. It is absolute gold right there for the victor here as Tamara Jewett has the day's fastest run. You can see right there Emily Kretz holding on for the silver medal performance here, and it will be an absolutely fantastic performance for our 42-year-old. As you can see right there, Rach McBride making her way to the finishing line of the Lululemon Canadian Professional Triathlon here at Osprey Valley. The fatigue on the face right there as Rach McBride is happy to have made the podium in a world-class field of athletes. Canada's new superstar, Tamara Jewett, with her victory here at the Lululemon Pro Tri Championship at Osprey Valley. Kretz, McBride on the podium, and great performances by Pamela Ann St. Pierre and Kristen Marchand from Caledon. Tamara Jewett, your champion, Emily Kretz, silver, and finishing out the podium, Rach McBride from British Columbia. The Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championship is brought to you by Lululemon, Toronto at Osprey Valley, and the Professional Triathletes Organization. It's the men's chance now as Charles Paquette leads out as the first athlete in this 3-lap 1,500-meter swim. The Quebec athlete, one of the best resumes of the field, and it'll be Jeremy Bien coming up second, 30 seconds down. Remember, he's the national champion for 2019, and there goes Tristan Jones, the only teenager in the field, one of the superstars and up and coming, and the 40-year-old who they're all cheering for is Brent McMahon from Victoria, British Columbia. two-time Olympian, Pan American medalist, and a multiple Ironman champion. That's Cody Beals as he heads in, the two-time Mount Tremblant champion and course record holder. Jeremy Briand right there in second place as he comes around the swim buoy. They'll have to go out of the water on each and every lap, and that is the time that the heart rate really starts to climb. You can see athletes going right there around the PTO banners as they go back into the water. Fantastic turnover here. It is a total of 3 laps. Taylor Reed, who's got home course advantage. He's been training on this course since he was 13 years of age. And Charles Paquette having an absolutely phenomenal swim. First into the water, and he is going to have a time of just over 15 minutes and 57 seconds. Nobody's going to come close to that man today. Phenomenal swim.
Well, yeah, it was good today. It was hard. It's hard to get off the water every time, and yeah, last lap was harder than I thought.
As Jeremy Briand right now is trying to get out of that wetsuit, Tristan Jones is coming up from behind him. Briand's going to have a top 5 finish. Tristan Jones right there, the junior, having his opportunity to race here at home is Tristan Jones, the man who won the Super League a year ago, coming out in 3rd. The veteran Brent McMahon out of the water, 16:49, going to be the second fastest time of the day.
Oh, you know, it's just a blast, you know, to be able to get out there and just punish yourself and chase other guys. That's what we live for as athletes, and to be able to do it in this year with all the things going on is just phenomenal.
17:29 for Taylor Reed as he crosses the line right there in 7th place.
And yeah, the real game begins when we hit the bike and the run.
Charles Paquette with a phenomenal swim of 15:57. Brent McMahon sitting in 2nd. Tristan Jones, the junior, in 3rd, and down in 5th place, 1:19 down, Jeremy Briand. Time for the men to race on this very unique bike course. They're waiting in the lineup. You have to go in the order you were behind the lead swimmer, and that means they'll all be waiting for Charles Paquette to take off first, all the way down to Jason Pohl. Every athlete, the deficit out of the water is what they'll have to wait, and it'll be 52 seconds after Charles Paquette goes before Brent McMahon gets to get on that bike course. So Paquette will be the better part of 1 full lap ahead of all of these men. That was the quality of the swim that Charles Paquette put in earlier today. Tristan Jones, the junior, will be 3rd to take off onto the bike. And that's Jason Pohl, a long way from home, racing in Caledon, the Calgary man. That man even further away from Victoria, British Columbia. As 40-year-old Brent McMahon will head off in 2nd place, and look at that very aero position he has on that bike. There'll be a differential between road bikes and Ironman bikes that some of these athletes are more consistently using in their training. Up and out of the saddle, very aggressive early on, Charles Paquette. He's been working on that Olympic distance racing, and look at the cornering of Brent McMahon, who's been doing this for more years than that man has been racing. That's Tristan Jones, just 19 years of age. We're getting ready now for Jeremy Briand, the national champion, just to head off. Liam Donnelly, the under-23 athlete, and Taylor Reed has won a couple 70.3 races, so we know that 40 kilometers on this bike ride he certainly has under capacity. Cody Beals will be heading off shortly, as well as Jackson Landry. So the very strong men on the bike course will be heading off right there in 7th, 8th, and 9th place. Jackson Landry, already he is passing a number of the men on the course. Landry pushing some big gears as he comes around the corner. Jones being passed right there, and you can see Landry on the inside already making his move.
I was committed to time trialing even the whole race. I really was focused on even effort. Don't crush the hill too hard, take the turns fast, pick guys off one by one, and don't get discouraged when people go pretty fast early on, because I know in a 40K time trial, there's gonna be guys who haven't gone that far before and they don't know what the limit is.
Landry and McMahon right now riding faster than anyone else on this bike course.
I didn't know Jackson was moving up as quickly as he was. So I was more just focused on like hitting my numbers and hopefully chipping away at Charles. But initially I was like, I'm losing time. And you know, I had to kind of rely on you know, my years of experience and go, okay, I'm good through the whole distance. I know I'm strong enough all the way through. These young guys.
Right now you can see Jackson Landry, who left in 9th and 3rd place, and he's got 2nd in his sights. Just around that tight corner, that's Brent McMahon to the right looking over his shoulder. They've got Charles Paquette up the road, but I think the two big bikers in this field right now going past each other late in this 40-kilometer ride.
As I pass him, I'm thinking, I've got to put a surge in here and get some time, because if I just go by him and kind of ease off, he's going to stay right with me, and I don't want to get into a run battle with Brent McMahon.
I had to make the quick decision of, okay, do I try and go right outside my limit to see if I can stay with him, or do I want to see if he's just testing me and he's putting in a surge and he's going to slow up? So I did play a little bit of patience there, and he was just riding fast.
Charles Paquette continues to ride fast, but as we saw on the women's side with Kira Gupta-Baltazar, who led out of the water, Paquette eventually has given up the lead, and the very smooth, consistent riding by Jackson Landry, the man who's done so much work to bring this race to Canada, now has taken over the lead. Charles Paquette trying to keep him in his sights, sitting in 2nd. Is Landry now trying to force the pace in the late stages of this 40-kilometer ride, and there goes Brent McMahon right there past Charles Paquette into 2nd place. And McMahon knows that he does not want to give up much time to Jackson Landry. Landry feels like he needs to get a big lead out on this course because McMahon was a 2-time Olympian, and we know that he's able to run very fast for 10 kilometers. There you can see how hilly this course is. It is very challenging. Coming down, they're well over 70 kilometers an hour in the corner. He was 7th place out of the water, but a very efficient bike ride for Taylor Reed as he's now past Paquette into 3rd place as he takes in the calories, recognizing it is going to be a very tough 10-kilometer run. Brian in 4th place. There's Charles Paquette now falling back into 5th. And here comes Cody Beals right now, currently sitting in 6th place.
Like a gap on the other guys, but at the same time I think it almost killed me because I was trying to stay in front of them, and I think I went too hard like for the first 20K, and then after like 25 or 30K I couldn't, my legs were done.
No question that Jackson Landry is going to have the bike preem today. Out of the water in 9th, first off the bike, and a 10-kilometer run with some phenomenal athletes coming up from behind. How many hours did this man put into this race? Dreaming about it, and right now he's leading the Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championship at Osprey Valley. Off he goes. It's going to be a gap of almost a minute plus. There it is, Brent McMahon off the bike. He came out of the water in 2nd place. He's going to go out onto the run in 2nd place, and look at that smooth transition. Incredible. You know that guy's had some Olympic distance training in his background. He's made up some time already on Jackson Landry just in the transition zone, and up the hill goes Brent McMahon to the start of his 8-lap 10-kilometer run. Let's see who has the run legs now in this 10-kilometer run, as Jackson Landry had a 35-second gap on McMahon as they have a very tough, hilly 10-kilometer run ahead of them. Taylor Reed out of the transition zone in 3rd place. What an incredible bike. He, along with Jackson Landry, have done so much work to bring this race to Caledon. Here at the Lululemon Canadian Professional Triathlon Championship at Osprey Valley. Jackson Landry, 1 hour 13 minutes, 35 seconds down Brent McMahon. 123 down to Taylor Reed, and both Cody Beals along with Charles Paquette in the top 5. An absolutely lethal bike split for Jackson Landry, and right now he is actually putting time into Brent McMahon. He said that he was concerned about the 2-time Olympian, but he is having a phenomenal run as the 40-year-old. 25 years of racing on the international circuit. How many times has he gone to the well? Can he do it one more time as Brent McMahon looks up the street and sees Jackson Landry, but the race for 3rd, Taylor Reed, Charles Paquette. There's 25-year-old Jeremy Briand, the 3 of them onto the bell lap coming past. It's just 1.25 kilometers to the finishing line, and right there, Taylor Reed's trying to figure out if he's on the same lap. I can tell you he is. What a final lap we're gonna have between these 3 men.
I looked over my shoulder at one point and just my heart dropped because I saw the guys coming. I wasn't sure if I'd actually lap Jeremy. So I was like, is he a lap ahead of me or is he on the same lap? So I was like doing a little bit of math in my mind as he was coming up beside me, but I knew I was like, this is a race. So if someone goes by you and you're not sure, you gotta go with them.
Well, Taylor Reed trying to find one more gear, but Jeremy Briand right now running faster than anyone on the course. As the battle for third looks like it might just about be over. Reed digging deep, Jeremy Briand pulling away in the late stages of this 10-kilometer run. What a 12 months it has been for Jackson Landry. 12 months ago in the hospital in France after a massive crash at the World 70.3 Championships. 5 weeks ago, we didn't even know whether there would be a race here. He, along with Taylor Reed, put their energy together. And today, he is the 2020 Lululemon Canadian Professional Triathlon Champion at Osprey Valley.
I was in the 70.3 World Championships almost a year ago to the day. It was September 9th last year. And I crashed and broke my shoulder in about 12 places. So that was a pretty grueling process, especially for the first few weeks. And I didn't know if I'd ever be able to race again. So it was pretty special.
And Brent McMahon comes in across the line with a silver medal performance, continuing to show that he is one of the class athletes in all of Canada. Jeremy Briand using that incredible run capacity to take the bronze medal today and also claiming the run preem here in Caledon. Jackson Landry claiming victory today with 1 hour 47:26. The veteran McMahon just 1 minute 3 seconds back, and the Canadian champion Jeremy Briand getting on the podium with the day's fastest run. You can't see the smiles on their face, but there are smiles all around this country as the chance to watch 20 of Canada's best triathletes in a year that they thought nobody would race. On behalf of the entire organization, I'm Barry Shepley saying thanks for tuning in to the Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championships at Osprey Valley.